I think I went through that phase where I was trying to be someone, I was looking up to them, but in a way that I was trying to replicate what they did based on their actions, but not focus on my own actions.
This is Entrepreneurs the Playbook, where I give you access each week to the world's greatest athletes and executives about their personal and professional playbook and what has made them champions on and off the field. This is the Playbook. This is Dave Meltzer, CEO of Sports One Marketing, here with Entrepreneur the Playbook, and I got Casey Adams with me.
Thanks so much
with
for
the
having me.
return favor.
Yes.
I was on his podcast, one of my favorites, and what a following you have, man.
Thank you, man.
And you just turned 18 in July.
Yep.
It's fun for me because I believe in mentorship, and with what's going on with blockchain, crypto, especially social media, older guys, and I'm one of the few in my space, have to look up to people like you to understand what's going on, because I want to have an impact to be of service and do good, but you can't if you're not talking on the same medium as the people that you want to listen to you.
Yep.
And I think that incongruency is really causing some separation between the knowledge of an older generation, which is valuable, but also, you know, the execution of a younger generation to distribute these great ideas. What do you think is the biggest factor in how you're able to accelerate, you know, at such a young age, you know, being able to be one of those bridges? You know, you're extraordinary. You're going to meet with Barney Walters at K-Swiss. You know, they give those killer Gary V shoes. You and I have become close. We're co-mentoring each other. What do you think it is that allows you to bridge the gap between the traditional and the digital?
Yes, I mean, well, first off, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Dude, it's awesome.
And I would say the biggest thing for me when it first came to starting a personal brand and trying to create this, I would say, following that I could impact, it first started off when I had a super bad neck injury in my life, and that was sort of changed the direction of everything I was doing and the way I was thinking about things. So when I was 15, I was playing football. I got diagnosed with interspinous ligament damage. So I was in a neck brace for like 25 weeks, super depressed, didn't know what I wanted to do. And my passion just got ripped away from me, which was playing football at the time. Grew up playing lacrosse, hockey, a bunch of sports, and that was my passion. And as soon as I got this neck injury, just my whole life just like got put on pause, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a sophomore in high school, and it was during the summer, and I literally had to stay in my room for 25 weeks. And it was during that time when I really started to gain clarity on what I wanted to do, and started following people like yourself and Gary V and people that were about impact. And I think that was the mental transition for me when I was going through these things that I didn't see at the time. But over the course of 6, 12, 18 months now, it's really been clear to me that like following people like you, Gary, a lot of these leaders really help cultivate a mindset of giving and being authentic and really just focusing on how I can share my story, but then also learn from others and really bridge the gaps by just providing value and really just having conversations. I think for me, when I started my podcast like 8 or 9 months ago, having conversations with yourself and a lot of these amazing entrepreneurs has really helped me gain clarity on the way I can bring value, which is bridging the gaps. So I would say definitely just the sitting down factor of podcasting after the fact of building a brand has really led to, I would say, bridging those gaps.
It's interesting because a lot of young people have what they think is hurdles, voids, shortages, obstacles, struggles. Yours was semi-extreme, right? To be able to be in a neck brace for that long and have the time to think about it. But, you know, from my perspective, you know, I see all the challenges as unexpected opportunity. Yep. And the people that, like you, Casey, that see, you know, almost, you know, being paralyzed as an unexpected opportunity, that, you know, looking at your size and my size, although we both share the same passion for sports, it probably wasn't the best path for either of us.
Totally.
Right, and I learned that later than you. I, you know, spent until I was 22 playing college football, but, you know, being able to take that passion and transform and transcend it into being of service and provide value and using some skill sets that other people may or may not have developed yet. The next time something happens to you that's unexpected, right? I won't say it's struggle, challenge, or void, but when, you know, you're only 18. So I promise you one thing, shit's gonna hit the fan, okay? I promise it. What's gonna be your initial reaction or thought process?
Yeah, so it's funny because as soon as you say that, one thing that just comes up to my mind is to seek guidance. And I would say just from the people that I've learned from, I always want to chat with the people that have gone through things and have the experience instead of making my decisions up front on my own. And I know that yesterday you talked about before any decision, it would take 6 deep breaths. And I think for me, I'll do that, but in my way is reach out to 6 mentors or reach out to people that may have gone through those experiences from the network that I've built. And I've been able to meet a lot of cool people from social media, and having those people that have been through it, they've struggled, they've won a lot, they've lost a lot, and they've actually been through it. I think reaching out to those people and actually telling them what my current situation is and just seeing what they respond to and how that can affect me. I think that would be my first intent, is just to seek guidance.
It's interesting you use the word seek, and it just keeps coming back up in my more prevalent career. And understanding that word is really challenging. People, it seems obvious when we say seek this. And what does the word seek mean to you? When you say you're going to seek guidance, what does that mean? What's the process?
Yeah, I would say it's more of discovery, meaning people, when it comes to, let's say, bringing up travel, for example, if you want to get the experience of someone else traveling, you ask them questions and they'll have the answers based on their discovery of a different country. Let's say you've been to Costa Rica and I want to go there. I want to discover your thoughts and your experiences before I go there. So I think seek to me is more of understanding that you've been through it and you've discovered the things that I haven't discovered yet. And me asking those questions will help me discover it before I've even been there.
And within asking questions beforehand, there is this thing called humility. And I think it's unfair to put empathy and humility. I love the way older people like me are, oh, the younger generation, they're not empathetic, they're not humble. Look, I just have to be candid. I was 17 and 18 years old. I was not empathetic and I was not humble. So I don't understand why, and none of my friends were. So I don't understand, just because the advent of social media and handheld phones, that somehow human nature never changes. And I'd like to call BS on anyone that thinks that this generation is any different human nature-wise because they have handheld devices in Fortnite and social media and blockchain and crypto or whatever else they have. I don't buy it one bit. One thing I do notice is that there is a different work ethic produced by an economy throughout the generations. When economies are good, right? We have generations that don't see the struggle. What makes America great is when we have a depression, right? And kids that grow up in a depression, they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough. And there's a lot of things that we can do to grow and struggle. I'll give you an analogy. There's a farmer, and he always left a few oak trees. When he cleared the ground, he always left a few oak trees in the middle exposed as he cleared the farm. And the reason he did that was when it was exposed, those trees would be exposed to all the elements, every single element out there. And so that oak tree, though, he would use to put and make wagon wheels out of. I feel that the same thing can be held true about entrepreneurs like you. You have put yourself out there. You're exposed at a young age, right? And you're going to be the toughest wagon wheel. You've been through the neck injury. You've been through solitude at 25 weeks or whatever it is. And now you've chosen to lead and to stand out there and to have the podcast and to build a brand. And it's going to only strengthen you. What's the number one challenge, I would rather say pursuit, that you have in building that brand?
As in my personal brand? I think it all just comes down to being different, because especially with social media nowadays and everyone focusing on building a brand or people understanding that building a brand is powerful, I believe that it comes down to how you're different and how authentic you are. So I think for me, and the biggest thing I would think you say I struggle with or I could struggle with in my pursuit is just staying authentic and don't letting any noise get to me, or don't trying to be like anyone else, and just staying true to myself throughout the entire process. But doing that in a way that still lets people know and helps people understand that they need to be authentic too, that they don't need to be like me. No one needs to be like you. They need to be themselves. So I think, and especially for a lot of young kids that I've met and they meet me, and I think I went through that phase where I was trying to be someone, I was looking up to them, but in a way that I was trying to replicate what they did based on their actions, but not focus on my own actions. And I think that's the thing where just from my experiences in the last 2-3 years of just getting into the social spaces, just staying true to yourself and staying authentic is, I would say, the number one thing that, if anything, that I could potentially struggle with if I let it get to me.
How do you make yourself equal, then make yourself different?
I think the biggest thing making myself equal then different is coming and getting to a place where you're confident with what you're doing. So to be different is to be you, right? And I think being you or being me or whoever's listening is that understanding your core values and why you're doing what you're doing, especially when building a brand. And I talk about this all the time when it comes to if you're building your brand and you're trying to gain this influence or whatever that may be, understanding your why, like why are you putting out that Instagram video? Why are you putting out that podcast? It's not for you. Like no one goes on Instagram to look at their own pictures and just be like, I love myself, but you do it for others.
Maybe a few people.
Yeah. But I think for me, I want to make sure that people understand the message of you're putting out content and building a brand for others, and you may not even think that because you holding your phone up and taking a video, it's you doing it, but it's the law of reciprocation that people will start to reciprocate and really understand that, all right, he's doing that for me. He's not just doing this for himself. He really wants to provide value, and helping people perceive that in the most authentic way. I think that's the hardest thing, but me doing that and trying to go in that direction, I believe is my intent with everything.
It's interesting because I think there's 3 areas that people talk about, and you talk about the why. A lot of people talk about the why, but I think there's a lot of young entrepreneurs your age, because you're so far accelerated in advance, that they're looking just for the what. Like, what do I want?
Yeah.
Right? And then you know what you want. So you got the what, then you got to get to the why, and then where you seek advice or counsel is the how. Right? Because now you can accelerate your experience with expertise with people like me that have paid a ton of dummy tax, so that you don't have to make the mistakes, that care about you, and you give the greatest compliments in the world to me by calling me and asking me for help and making me feel great about myself, saying, Dave, hey, I know you went through this. Can you accelerate this for me? Can you help me? I appreciate your advice. What a great compliment. Now, I know from being 50 years old and being in social media, one of the few, that really tries to make myself equal and different as well. There's some people out there that are haters. There's some people out there that say you are, and they don't understand. And being 50 and knowing that time and ego are my 2 nemesis thing that I deal with every day. There's a need to be offended. The ego carries a need to be offended. Mm-hmm. Give me some examples, because I know it has to be true. I'm going to illuminate the truth. Give me some examples of what people have said, either online, in person, or wherever, that has hurt your feelings.
Yeah, great question, by the way. I would say, especially in social media, because it's just an abundance of people that can literally say whatever they want directly to
courage,
you.
Right?
Yes.
Instant courage.
And there's much love, there's as much hate.
I think there's way more love than hate.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, especially for you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me, or some things that I may have heard, is just something along the fact when I would say in the last 12 months was just like, you're too young, or why are you doing this? Like, no one's gonna respect you, and just the things that they let age, or they come at me from the standpoint of like, you just graduated high school, what makes you think you're able to sit down with someone, or all these sort of things. And I've got those questions, but like you said, like all
so
the love
a lot have to go with respect, right? And you got to earn respect, and they're saying you haven't earned my respect. So how do you answer somebody? Right? How do you answer those DMs that say, look, dude, I don't respect you. You're 17. I'm 50 years old, man. I've lost more money than you'll ever make, right? All this BS. But how do you respond to that?
For me, I think it really all just comes down to like twisting it and always making it positive. So if someone comes at me and they're like, dude, what makes you think you can sit down with Gary V? Like, he's done X, Y, Z. You just graduated high school. Like, this is an example. But I think it comes down to just like giving them something tangible to do, meaning like they're giving me negativity, I'm giving them something like, hey, I totally understand that you may not have respect for me, but I'd love for you to listen to the podcast and call me back or shoot me a call right after, because I'd love to have a conversation with you about that.
That's the secret, exactly.
So
that's what I do. Always appreciate somebody's perspective, and then try to re-engineer it with education. Right? And they can still have their perspective.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And and it's important that immediately when we feel offended that we take those 6 breaths, right? And we go back to calmness and peace and joy, whatever that place is for us, because I think that's the most interesting thing ego-wise for me at 50 that I'm not sure I could have handled at 18 was, and I love my publicity guys and my media team because they still get on the defensive. I believe if you don't have a defense, there could be no attack. If I put up no defense, there could be no attack. Everyone is entitled to love and hate me. And, part of me, really appreciates Howard Stern when he used to say, people who don't like me used to tune in for twice as long for the same reason to people that like me to hear what I was about to say.
Yep.
Right? And so there's some power at being yourself. What do you think it is? Because I don't know many 17/18-year-olds. You just turned 18 in September. I don't know many 18-year-olds that have a sense of security, and that's where these celebrities get into problems. They just don't have a sense of security that, hey, I appreciate your opinion, but I'm doing me, right? I'm doing me. This is I am, not you are.
Yeah.
So what gives you that sense of confidence to do Casey?
Yeah, I would say with that, I think there's two major things, and one of them being just from me learning from a lot of these great people and studying mentors and just getting involved with education from a self-development standpoint. I think it just comes down to, like you said, respecting other people's opinions. I think that came from, and why I'm so for it is because they're doing them, right? I always like to think about why would they think something before I think something, just in the fact, especially on social media, because everyone, it might be they wake up at 7 in the morning, they're having a terrible day and they just need to say something, or they have that urgency to do that, and I understand that. But I would say the biggest thing for me in the way I would say let things get into me and stick with me is sort of just in that mindset of understanding that every day I live, if I let negativity get to me, it will start to beat me. It will start to get through me, and I will start to be a negative person that gives that negative energy. So I think I always try to keep things in the positive. So if someone throws something like that at me and I give something of value, that's just something positive I did for them. They may not even recognize it. They may say, F you, whatever that may be in return. Yeah. But I think me just understanding that the little things of spreading positivity on a day-to-day basis, it will always come back. And as much, there could be a small amount of negativity or a large amount, whatever it is, if you just focus on giving positive things for them to do in return, they're either going to continue to love you, or they're going to continue to hate you, or they may switch their mindset and actually add value to them. So I'm always focusing on how I can add value at the bare minimum of things.
Where did that come from, that attitude?
I think a cultivation of books, mentors, a lot. Gary V actually, that was literally, I read his book Crush It when I was 15 in my neck brace, literally in my bed. And that's how I really started my brand, because he was talking about building a personal brand, and obviously getting into his content really sort of kept me aligned with, like he says, one life. There's no need to let negative people get into you, because they just literally, it doesn't make a difference. Meaning, if you let the negativity get to you, it'll make you negative. If you let the positivity bring you up, you'll remain positive. And I think from him, and just understanding and really studying what he's doing, from, if you watch the videos or you meet him in person, he's very caring. So giving that caring attitude to my people, in the sense of taking a gold nugget from Gary, I think he's had a major influence on me, just from the caring aspect of others.
Yeah, me too. He's a co-mentor. Now, because we kind of co-mentor each other, what's the best piece of advice that I've given you?
Great question. I think from the podcast we did, I remember you were telling me, and this is I was literally in my room in Virginia, this before I moved out here to Arizona, and that was my studio, but I was in the studio with you, we were doing the podcast, and I remember when you told me you lost every single one of your houses, and I remember after the podcast I wrote down quote unquote to the society, you had it all, you were millions of dollars, houses, doing whatever you want, happy, grateful, and literally just the next day, everything gone. And I think the sense of you being able to bounce back to the extent of I'm having you on my podcast and you're telling that story, and my mindset of he went through that, right? And that's, I would say, understanding of what you've done to bounce back, and just that gratitude of saying things happen, people get through them, and it gave me that clarity to understand if I ever go through something or lose everything, that if I ever need someone to call, you're the man to do that. And I think that really stuck with me, is that if I'm ever at a low point in my life, that I can always hit you up or ask someone that's been through it, potentially the worst of worst, and I can always have someone that's been through that actually has that real experience that will actually lift me back up.
You're always welcome to give me the gift of asking me for help, right? That's why I feel so blessed, because so many people ask for my help now, and that's the biggest blessing that I could have. What advice do you have back to me?
Let's go. Shoot, I would say the biggest piece of advice from someone 18, growing up in this social media world, I would say, from a content perspective,
Yeah, please.
I would say definitely collaboration with people that have, I would say, none to zero following, but let's say you love their piece of content or it makes you laugh, getting them the exposure, I think that would be a huge piece of advice. And I know you already do that.
That's great.
Giving a lot of people the shout outs or from a personal brand perspective.
What do you think? I mean, there's two strategies, right? I like that strategy. People call me and say, I'm doing my first podcast. And I'll say, man, I'd love to do that for you, but just remember me when you're famous. But other people, no names, have told me, no, tell them, wait, give them motivation to get more following. Do you think there has to be a balance, or I should, really keep doing my process of helping whoever I can?
So I think there's two main paths. So I think there's a lot of, I would say, young people as well when it comes to like them reaching out from the first podcast perspective. Yeah. There's a lot of people that, because I've even have a lot of people, I'm on a lot of podcasts, people interview me for the first time and I love it. I think sometimes it could be better if they've done 10 before they do you, because I know like the first 10 I did, I was trying to script it, I was trying to keep it aligned, and now I just go into interviews with zero questions.
Starting over, disconnected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So I would say sometimes just based on your, I would say viewpoint on the person that, let's say they hit you up about being on the first podcast, seeing if they put out videos and their communication is down, or if they can carry a conversation and seeing that, because it'd be better for them if they've done 10 to kind of get that track record in place so that they can
So ask them when they feel comfortable. Yeah. That's a great advice.
Yeah, so that they can maximize their experience and their time with you, because you're definitely busy and taking
productive and
time
accessible, not busy.
Yes.
I'll keep treating you that, right? Productive and accessible. Accessible to others, accessible to that which inspires you, right? Access to what you want, man. All the information, all the inspiration, that's what you want, so it can come through you, so you can be accessible to others and keep on spreading literally your value, which only will bring more value back to you. Last question. Barely 18 years old.
Yep.
What legacy do you want to leave?
I think legacy to me is something that, especially in this day and age, is timeless. Meaning, like Gary Vee says, like the stuff he puts on social will be there forever if the internet doesn't shut down, of course. But I think for me, legacy is something that it's different for everybody. And for me, it comes down to when someone thinks of your name or sees a picture of you, they think of one word for me, and that would be caring. And I think caring to me is when someone gives me a call, they shoot me a text, they see me in person, is taking that step back and understanding, like yesterday, people want to take a picture with me, like I want to make sure I get a picture with every single person, everyone, before they step foot out of my event or when they see me or whatever that may be, because I care. And I think for me, that legacy would be very important to me, is just if someone hears my name, sees a picture of me, that they said, that dude cared. He cared not only about his family, not only about his friends, his colleagues, but someone that may have stopped him on the street, or the Starbucks lady, or anyone, just giving that smile extra a day. And like you said, the 100 to 20 rule, just doing that in a way that people understand, and synergy myself with the word caring, I'd say, is really important to me.
Well, what one word comes to mind when you think of me?
Self-alignment. Isn't that those two words?
Yeah.
I think you're aligned with.
Put a dash in there, we'll make it one.
Yeah. I think, because especially yesterday after hearing you speak, amazing, by the way, is phenomenal. I think that came to my mind just because you're aligned with yourself, therefore you help other people get aligned. And I think that word, for me, at least, even this conversation and our conversations yesterday and on the podcast, it helped me get aligned with just, if I lose everything, I'm aligned to the extent that I know other people have done that, like yourself, and it helps me stay aligned on knowing that someone else has been through that.
Well, you are one caring brother, Casey Adams, and I think that legacy is a great one to leave. Be kind, be caring, make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun, and you're on your way. And I'm really looking forward to be part of Build Your Empire.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed speaking here yesterday. It was one of the best audiences I've had, and some great feedback of people that are inspired to help other people. And thank you so much for being on the Playbook. I appreciate it. That's Casey Adams. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.